I watched all of the Scream movies for the first time back to back in preparation for the new Scream movie coming out this week. Of course, I had to start out with the original Scream film from 1996, and here's my review of it. All of this is just my opinion. I would love to hear yours down in the comments below. Let me know what you thought of the original Scream movie. Now, if you're somehow like me and still haven't seen this movie, I would recommend stop watching now because I'm kinda gonna get into some spoilerish stuff here. But this movie is on Peacock, and it might even be on the free version, so you should definitely go check it out. And then you can come right back to this video. But let's go ahead and get started with the good. This movie has one of, if not the most iconic opening scene in a film ever. We've seen it redone 1,000 times, but this still remains the best rendition to date. This scene immediately introduces the audience to just about every theme this movie has to offer. You have the fear, confusion, suspense, and of course, its great sense of self-aware humor. Not only that, but when two teenagers die in the first 15 minutes, it really sets the stage for this to be a pretty gruesome movie that's not afraid to kill anybody. Then apart from that opening sequence, this movie continues to keep the audience in suspense, especially pretty much any time the phone rings. You never really trust that any call is a normal phone call in this movie. And this film is truly the king of making me say, no, don't go in there, don't do that, turn around. Not only does this have all of those great horror movie tropes, but it also has a pretty good and deep story that develops throughout the entire movie. Throughout this movie, we get to dive more and more into the story of Sydney's mom's death. And then you have Gale Weathers trying to disprove the convicted killer, different people saying different things, thinking that maybe the killer has something to do with Sydney's mom. And then of course, at the end of this movie, it all ties together. But then that all leads me into the third act, which is absolutely phenomenal. You have people going head to head with Ghostface with all the action of them trying to throw the killer off, and at the same time you're trying to figure out who could be doing this while everybody's dying at this party. And at this point in the movie, we actually care about a lot of these characters, and so we are just on the edge of our seats hoping that maybe there's some way they get out of this. And that brings us to the mixed portion of this movie. I think that the story of Sydney's mom is a bit mixed for me. It definitely adds a layer of mystery and intrigue, which is exactly what the writers were looking for, but the way the audience receives it all is through exposition. Gale explains it, Sydney explains it, the news explains it, and now the killer's explaining it. As much as this is used to lead up to the ending and also build up Sydney's character a little bit, I kind of found it a bit boring about midway through this movie. Okay, so that ending didn't really surprise me very much. I wasn't fooled in the slightest by them pushing it being her dad, and I had a strong hunch that that oddly angled behind the back camera shot from Billy being stabbed was super faked. I was also suspicious of Stu since he first talked about people's intestines being ripped out in one of his first scenes. What brings this up to being mixed from possibly being bad is Billy's motivation behind doing this. I don't think there's any way that anyone could have predicted that ending. I certainly didn't. As much as I knew the killer's motivation probably did have something to do with Sydney's mom, I did not expect it to be done in this way. So this part also kind of redeemed the story of Sydney's mom as well for me. But with that, let's move on to the bad. And I really only have one thing I didn't like in this movie, and as good as her acting was, I didn't love the Gale Weathers storyline portrayed by Courtney Cox in this. It felt like her entire role in this movie was just used to distract Dewey and give some exposition about Sydney's mom. I am glad, however, that she got a bit of a redemption arc in this film, and my opinion of her character does change as these movies go on. In the movies that follow this, they end up developing her character a bit more, but for this first film, I just really wasn't feeling it. And so that leads me to my final thoughts. Overall, if you're looking for a fun yet scary horror flick, I think this is a great one to turn to every single time. The amazing part about this movie is that you'll find yourself laughing, covering your eyes, and thinking you heard a suspicious sound outside throughout this entire film. This is one of the most iconic films in the horror genre, and it's for good reason. So I'm gonna go ahead and give this movie an A. But of course, these are just my thoughts, and I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments down below. What did you think of the original Scream movie? If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe, as I will be rating all the other Scream movies in the next few days as well. And after the new movie comes out, I'm also going to do a ranking of all of these movies. That's all for now, so see you later, alligator.